Hi Taurus, I'm EllaAradia and welcome to your August 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Taurus Earth signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I do find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Taurus signs. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Taurus, let's jump in. I always like to tune into the energies first, Taurus, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I like to see what the universe shows me. There's an invitation this month for many of you, I feel, around stepping into the spotlight. And to do that, it feels like there is a need to find, some kind of sense of security inside of yourself, whether that is, trusting your skill set, your knowledge, your abilities in some way. For others, it may simply just be a stronger sense of emotional security inside of yourself. Overall energies, we have the Hanged Man. Seeing a new perspective, seeing a different perspective, taking a pause, usually represents looking at, a situation that's external from ourselves, taking a step back from something and seeing things differently, seeing things from a different perspective, so that, when you move forwards, you can perhaps approach that differently. What lies in your recent past is the Six of Wands. Recognition, success, being acknowledged for, the hard work that you have perhaps put into something. This is also someone, getting attention, being seen. Your current energies is Judgment, a moment of a life review. It's also about taking a pause. What's coming in for you is the Knight of Cups. Your feelings towards your situation is the Nine of Wands. So there is something happening here where you are taking a step back, and you're being asked to really look at things, really question things with judgment as your current energies. And this is a moment in your life where, we kind of go back over the past, and we really have a look at, what do we need to let go of right now? What do we take with us moving forwards? Because there's something here where there is a sense of, tiredness, and something which I feel you have been putting a lot of time and energy into. The Nine of Wands, it usually means that there is something where there is a history. And, you're almost at a completion of something, but it feels that, whatever this is, it's come at a cost to your energy, because this is also, the energy of someone who has been through a lot. Like, you're still there, you're still standing. It's also a card of healing, but it feels like, that there has been a cost, to the point, I feel, of, your energy being exhausted here. And what I feel is, it may be that something has kind of occurred here where things have started to break down. Because usually judgment comes in when there is a need for change. So you've got the Hanged Man, you're being asked to take a step back, to really look at this situation. And this is what Judgment is asking you to do also. This is a card which is asking you to really question your situation, really analyze it, really question it. And it's about letting go of what no longer serves you. Because what I feel in your past is conflict. And for many of you, this may have been showing up in the workplace, because I'm seeing competition, conflict, opposing views. It's almost like not seeing eye to eye. And it just feels toxic to me, to the point where, you're showing up and there's just constant drama. Like there may be somebody in the workplace that you've had some particular, challenges with that have been ongoing. But it feels like you've kind of hung in there. And that's the thing. Sometimes when it's something that you've put a lot of time and energy into, it can be difficult to, let that go. When we've invested so much, you've worked so hard. But at the same time, what I feel I want to say is there's so much that you've gained from whatever this is that's actually inside of you now. Because what I'm feeling here, Taurus, is, it's not just that, there's been conflict or challenges in the workplace, or drama or kind of toxicity or whatever that is. It just feels like opposing views. It feels like people who, each person is wanting to be right. Each person is wanting to progress. But to the point where, it's almost like, certain people don't mind stepping on others in order to kind of further their own career. And it just feels like it's become quite an unpleasant environment to be in. But it sometimes comes in because it is time for a change. Sometimes it's a sign that it's time for something new. And, especially when things get very, very intense, because I feel like this is something that's been ongoing for a while. But recently it's gotten more intense for you, which usually happens when there's about to be a change or a pattern's about to break. And a lot of it, I feel, is calling for you to take an action. This is, for some of you, a new creative opportunity, a new direction to take, something that you are being asked to move towards, to pursue. Even if, the path ahead is not 100% clear, it may be about following your heart. And what I'm feeling here, some of you, this might be making space to, really connect you to life purpose in some way. It might be moving up the ladder. It might be starting your own thing, a whole new project. This can represent, moving towards, some kind of new creative project or an opportunity that is more aligned with, what your heart truly wants here. And sometimes, these things that happen that, particularly in the workplace, when it's to do with kind of navigating this territory of, differences of opinions and things like that, sometimes there's also a mastery in this, which sometimes we're not always aware of. And, when we move into perhaps a new role or a new profession or something like that, there are always certain qualities, that we need to master in order to really be in that role, to our highest potential. And there's something here about, I feel, learning how to navigate, that territory of conflict in the workplace. I feel like you're learning how to, relate, to resolve, to manage. And you're really learning, I feel, some leadership qualities here. And it may not be apparent just yet, but I very strongly get the sense that these are things that you are going to need further down the road to, really step into this new beginning. And so really a lot of what has been going on here, I feel it has been a self-mastery in some way for you. And it's so important, I feel, to really look at a situation, and I understand it perhaps with a much broader perspective. This is about looking at things differently. There's so much that you are gaining, from this situation, even if it is something which, feels like a loss because you've invested so much, but you also need to look at what you have really gained from this, because what you are gaining now, I feel, is something you're going to need in the future, and it's setting you up for that. And the invitation here is to really look at how far you've come. This is a card of acknowledgement, and sometimes that acknowledgement can come from an external thing, in terms of how much you have, worked towards something, how much you've kind of brought to the table, being acknowledged for that. But it can also just be about, really looking at how far you've come, how much you've learnt, the experience that you've gained, and how that is really going to set you up for, what is coming next. So it's a little bit of a milestone moment. It's absolutely to do that. Really acknowledge, all of those things inside of yourself. Because what comes next, I feel, is you stepping into the spotlight in some way. And it may be that for those of you that have, perhaps been working for somebody else, it may have felt, kind of safe and secure, not 100%, fulfilling, not 100% really giving you what you wanted from it. And alongside that, it feels like there's been this kind of toxicity in the workplace to a degree. And you may have hung in there because on some level it's provided, I feel, a sense of, safety, security, like a tried and tested path in a way. But I feel like your soul's wanting something more. Your soul's wanting something different, and something that is more aligned with, where you are at in your life right now and inside of yourself. And that's what judgment is all about. It's this moment of, change, of a life review, of, stepping into a new chapter and letting go of anything that you are no longer in alignment with. So that's people, that's places, that's situations. It's that job that, perhaps did serve a purpose but wasn't really fulfilling. And, along with that, it feels like it's come at a cost with in terms of your energy. And it's time to, I feel, really invest in yourself moving forwards. So what lies in the challenge is conflict. So this is this energy of conflict that I've been feeling here, what's in your recent past. And 5 of Wands, this is very often opposing views. This is the energy of everybody wanting to be heard, wanting to be right, but with no kind of clear direction. And, sometimes in the workplace, that can feel very toxic. And for some of you, it may be the energy of more than one person, perhaps, trying for that promotion or to move up the ladder in some way, to the point where you're almost kind of pitted against each other. And it feels very much to me, it might be time to just step away from that drama and, you know, really take this as a sign that it is time for a new direction for you. Moving away from drama, following your heart. But to do that is going to require you stepping into the spotlight and feeling, let's say, emotionally secure inside of yourself to be able to do that. But the invitation is there. You know, knights are always in pursuit of something. So this is usually some kind of call to action for you to really follow your heart, to, you know, take steps perhaps towards making a dream a reality, following your heart, moving into purpose, perhaps accepting a new creative opportunity that may have come your way. And it's going to involve you trusting yourself and really embracing this change. And, you know, rather than seeing it as a loss, really look at, you know, everything that you have really gained, you know, from your experiences from the past. And particularly, you know, this kind of last phase of your life in terms of career. In the challenge, we have, the hidden influence is the 7 of Cups. This is options, and this is where you stand right now. You know, multiple options, multiple possibilities, you know, around you. Each cup has something different in it. And, you know, this can represent, you know, dreams, inspirations. But the most important thing here is, you know, at some point you do need to take an action on one of these dreams, one of these cups, you know, with that Knight of Cups there holding that one cup. You know, there's some kind of choice that needs to be made. And, you know, it's important to do that so that these things don't just stay dreams and illusions. You know, that's what the clouds represent around the cups. You know, that's the danger sometimes, that, you know, we're not taking action and things just kind of stay, you know, as these dreams and they never really manifest. So there's some kind of call to action, you know, some kind of next step that needs to be taken here. Your advice from the universe is the 4 of Cups. Feels to me like there's some kind of offer or opportunity that's presented itself. And with the Hangman there, you know, whatever has been going on, it definitely feels like it has been challenging for you and you've needed to, you know, take a step back, take some time out just to, I feel, gather your energy a little bit, get in touch with your true feelings. Sometimes, you know, with the 4 of Cups, that can be a feeling of emotional kind of stagnancy. And sometimes we can get a little bit stuck in that energy, but to the point where, you know, we might miss a new opportunity that the universe is bringing in. So I would say, you know, stay super aware of, you know, what is coming in around you. And, you know, make sure you don't get stuck for too long in that moment of a pause, to the point where you might be missing, you know, something that is already there. That's what I'm feeling here. Because to me, I feel like you're at a fork in the road and it's time for change. And to me, this 9 of Wands here feels like something that's part of, you know, an old version of you, and something that has, you know, run its course, and, you know, it really is time for change. And, you know, this is the thing with Judgment, you know, it's a card of accountability, looking at, you know, what you've really been learning from your experiences, your part to play in, you know, what you have attracted. But it's also about stepping into a new version and letting go of what you no longer feel aligned with, so that, you know, you don't keep on going down the same roads over and over again, you know, because this feels like the ending of a pattern. Because what comes after this is a 10, which is a completion. And, you know, with the 10 of Wands, that's usually the energy of obligation and feeling burdened. I'm really feeling like you're kind of carrying something. And it feels to me like, you know, the universe has come in and created a little bit of, you know, this conflict, disturbance, you know, whatever that is for you, in order to bring in an invitation for you to make a change before that gets to the 10 of Wands, where you're feeling absolutely kind of overwhelmed and, you know, overburdened. There's an opportunity, you know, to take a different path. What lies in your outcome is the 8 of Cups. This is an energy of moving on. It's an emotional departure, and often represents, you know, either someone leaving your life or you moving on from somebody, or leaving behind, you know, something which, you know, hasn't been emotionally fulfilling for you. And to me, it feels, you know, very career related for many of you. This could also, you know, relate to love as well. You know, moving on from, you know, something that really has become very tiring and it's not emotionally fulfilling. And it's really time, I feel, to sort of honor, you know, what you truly want, what you truly deserve. And take some kind of action here. And, you know, the idea with the 8 of Cups here is that you're moving towards, you know, something that is emotionally fulfilling for you, you know, whether that's in love, whether that is in career, whatever that is for you. It could be location for some of you as well. You know, this is someone who looks like they are, you know, moving along on a physical journey there. So for some of you, this might be a location change, where there may be new opportunities for you. It may feel like, you know, you've outgrown where you currently are. And I feel like it's all about just honoring your truth. And in terms of, you know, pursuing your own path, you know, this is time to really kind of step into that spotlight and be seen and be visible. And just trust that, you know, you do have everything that you need in order to create what you really want in your life. Everything you need is already inside of you. And that's the thing, you know, it's about taking the blessings from the experiences from the past, rather than, you know, looking at something as a loss or feeling pushed out. There's so much that you've gained. And it's really important to see that and really move forwards from that positive foot, because there's something else out there for you, and it is leading you to, you know, emotional fulfillment and happiness. So Taurus, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.